Welcome to the Deep Dive. We sift through the sources to bring you insights that really help you get truly well informed. Today, we're looking at something pretty vital for any group working together. It could be a startup, could be, a community project. It's called norming for unity, building a shared culture. Our goal, to figure out how teams get past those early bumps, the conflicts, the big ideas, and build something that actually lasts. A culture with a real heartbeat. Think of it as moving from that quiet, maybe slightly awkward phase after a big push into a shared rhythm that keeps things going.
Yeah, and this is so critical right now, isn't it? Everything's changing so fast. We've got remote work, traditional bonds feel a bit fractured. Building that cohesive culture, it's not just damage control. It's not just about stopping fights. It's really about using those shared values to innovate, to actually get ahead. And here's the surprising thing our sources point to. The real breakthrough often isn't in the big flashy vision statement or, those heated debates. It's in the quiet, consistent rhythms you build together.
Exactly. So let's take a hypothetical team, maybe call them Catalyst Innovations. They just finished a huge project, lots of energy, sure, but also friction, right? Disagreements on strategy, maybe some personality clashes. Now the project's done. They're in that aftermath. How do they get beyond that storming phase into something solid? That's what we're exploring. We'll look at frameworks, practical tools like maybe a team pulse check-in, and some really interesting examples from, ancient history to modern teams, showing how norming makes a vision real. Okay, so first things first. What is norming exactly? The material we looked at positions this as that key phase after storming, after the conflict and the disagreements. It's described as a quieter season almost, a time for intentional rebuilding, where the vision stops being just an idea on paper and starts showing up in how the people actually work together.
That's a really good way to frame it. And it's crucial to understand norming isn't just aiming for surface harmony. It's not about getting everyone to agree just so things feel comfortable. No, it's deeper. It's about alignment for the sake of the purpose. Our sources connect this to the idea of shalom, that Hebrew word, often translated peace, but it means much more. Wholeness, order, everything working together as it should, flourishing. And a really key idea here is covenant over contract. Think about it. Most modern teams run on contracts, right? Job descriptions, KPIs, roles and responsibilities. It's transactional. But the sources suggest that truly resilient teams, what they term a kingdom paradigm, operate more from covenant, which isn't just about mutual benefit. It's about mutual belonging, a deeper commitment. Think back to Exodus 24. It wasn't just God handing down rules. It was establishing a relationship, a shared identity. That's covenant. And flowing from that is rhythm over rules. Look at the early church in Acts 2. They weren't held together by a massive rule book. No, they were devoted to specific things. Teaching, fellowship, breaking bread, prayer. These were their rhythms. Consistent communal practices that gave shape to their shared life and vision. For a team today, this isn't about bureaucracy. It's about those regular connection points. Maybe a weekly lessons learned chat, or just making time for shared lunches. Things that build trust and reinforce values.
So if you're leading that team, Catalyst Innovations, what does this actually mean for you? It means thinking beyond just the project plan, that's the contract, and fostering that deeper sense of shared purpose, the covenant. And instead of only focusing on meeting agendas, the rules, you're cultivating those regular, maybe even informal ways the team connects and stays aligned. The rhythms. A team that norms well, they start moving in sync. Not like robots, but like musicians tuning to the same key, right? A shared frequency.
Exactly. And when that happens, norming is where the vision really comes alive. You see it not just in mission statements on the wall, but in how people treat each other, how decisions get made day to day. Culture stops being a document and becomes, embodied, lived out. Our source material uses the example of Jesus washing the disciples' feet. John 13, that wasn't just a random act of kindness. He was normalizing servant leadership, showing what leadership looks like in action within that community. And you can usually spot these norming communities. They have certain characteristics. One is predictable grace. When someone messes up, the default isn't blame or shame, it's support, learning, figuring it out together. Another is mutual submission. Hierarchy exists, maybe, but it doesn't trump respect. Authority comes from trust and competence, not just a title. And crucially, consistency under pressure. Do the values hold up when things get tough, when the stakes are high? If yes, that culture is becoming ingrained.
Okay, this is where it gets really practical for our Catalyst Innovations team or for anyone listening. This isn't just about doing stuff differently. It's about being different together. The source material calls it embodied discipleship. Your collective actions become a living demonstration of what you believe in. It's like that prayer for unity in John 17. This is where you start seeing the answer in everyday interactions.
Right. And while conflict, that storming phase, can definitely show you where the passion lies, norming is what builds the actual roads for progress. It's the infrastructure, the unseen highways that allow a team or a movement to actually go somewhere sustainable. It's easy to overlook this phase. It doesn't have the drama of conflict or the excitement of a brand new vision. But without it, even the best ideas just fizzle out. They need to be cultured, nurtured, and the implications are pretty huge. For leaders, success isn't just followers. It's about how many people truly carry the heart of the mission. For teams, authority gets multiplied, not just held on to. Shared leadership starts to mature. And for the mission itself, sustainability is born in these rooms. Success without cohesion, that just leads straight to burnout.
Okay, I get the why. It's clearly vital. But let's unpack the how. How do we, as leaders or members of a team, actually build this? How do we intentionally cultivate this norming phase?
Well, the sources lay out 4 really key steps. First, identify and articulate core values in action. Don't just brainstorm abstract words. Ask the tough questions. How would we act if nobody was watching? What decisions reflect who we really are? These become your behavioral anchors, rooted in principle, not just personality. So for Catalyst Innovations, defining client first isn't a slogan. It's mapping out what that looks like in emails, in meetings, in problem solving. Second step, implement rhythmic practices. This is about consistent team rituals. Could be daily stand-ups, weekly learning sessions, monthly storytelling times where you share successes and failures. These aren't just calendar entries. They're the looms where you weave trust and reinforce that shared identity. Third, normalize honest feedback. This one's big. In a healthy culture, constructive feedback isn't an attack. It's actually a sign of belonging. It means people care enough to speak up. The source points to Ephesians 4.15, speaking the truth in love. You create space for disagreement, not to shut it down, but to learn from it, to redeem it. And fourth, revisit the covenant regularly. Keep the shared commitment alive. Don't let it gather dust. Just like some traditions reinforce family bonds or companies have retreats to refocus, teams need rituals to recommit. Read your values aloud sometimes. Talk about your purpose. This keeps the alignment fresh and prevents that slow drift.
Wow. Okay, so norming isn't some passive phase you just wait out. It's active cultivation. It's the fertile ground, the sacred soil, as the source calls it, where long-term fruitful impact can actually take root. It's where a team stops just talking about its vision and starts truly living it.
Let's make it even more concrete. Think about Acts 6 in the Bible. The early church had a crisis. Widows from one cultural group were being overlooked in food distribution. This wasn't just logistics, it was a potential schism. How did the apostles respond? Not by ignoring it, not by just telling people to get along. They did what our source calls values-led restructuring. They identified the need, aligned it with their values, caring for everyone, and appointed capable people full of the spirit and wisdom to handle it. They actually created a new structure to live out their values, transforming conflict into a stronger covenant. And this points to a pattern the sources highlight: intimacy first, then identity, then instruction, then institution. Think about it in organizational terms. Founders connect deeply, intimacy, forge a shared purpose and brand identity, then create processes, instruction, and finally formalize the structure, institution. Get that order wrong, put structure before relationship and identity, and things often go sideways. The structure starts to dominate the purpose.
Right, so the key takeaway is that structure should always serve the life, the spirit, the purpose. It's not the source of it. Norming, then, isn't about adding red tape. It's about shaping systems and habits that genuinely support the shared vision. Discipleship expressed in systems, almost. For Catalyst Innovations, it means asking, does our project software help us collaborate better? Or does it just create more boxes to tick? Does our meeting structure encourage real discussion? Now, jump ahead to Acts 16. Paul has a new team after that disagreement with Barnabas. Paul, Silas, Timothy, what do? They don't just charge off into new territory. No, they actually go back and revisit the churches already planted. This wasn't about losing momentum. It was about strengthening the core, refining the culture. And the result, Acts 16.5 says the churches were strengthened in the faith and grew daily. So norming here looked like depth over speed, strengthening foundations over just expanding reach. Rhythm, consistency was the key to sustainable growth. And that story about Timothy's circumcision in Acts 16.3, it's fascinating, isn't it? Paul, who argued fiercely against requiring circumcision elsewhere, chooses to do it here for Timothy. Why?
Context, sensitivity, strategy.
Right. It seems like a practical, maybe even counterintuitive decision made to remove a potential stumbling block for the mission among certain groups. It's a powerful picture of shared sacrifice for the shared goal, putting the mission above personal stances or past arguments.
Exactly. It shows that willingness within a well-normed team to adapt, to be flexible, for the sake of the larger purpose. So, pulling it together, norming is the living expression of your covenant, those shared commitments visible in everyday behaviors and rhythms. It's like Philippians 2.2 says, being of the same mind, having the same love, being in full accord and of one mind. Not forcing identical thoughts, but fostering that deep unity of spirit. And it follows that covenant before conduct principle we touched on. You establish who you are together first, based on shared identity or experience, then you talk about how you operate. Like Exodus 20.2 starts, I am the Lord your God who brought you out. Identity first, then the commandments. So norming isn't just agreeing on rules, it's living out the identity you've already embraced together.
That really shifts the perspective. Alignment isn't just about efficiency or avoiding conflict. It becomes a visible testimony, a witness to who you are and what you stand for. Philippians 2.5 again. Have this mind among yourselves. How you interact, forgive, collaborate, it all speaks volumes. Like the source says, the group doesn't just preach its message, it models it through its culture. Your culture becomes the message, in a way.
Now let's look at a modern, really dynamic example, disciple-making movements, or DMMs. These movements offer a powerful illustration of effective norming. In DMMs, norming is all about covenantal clarity expressed through reproducible simplicity. It's about defining normal for participants in a way that's super clear, easy to live out, and crucially, easy to pass on to others, anywhere, by anyone. And the genius is in its simplicity. Look at their 33rds groups. They use a simple format. Look back, accountability, care. Look up, engaging with the core message of Scripture. Look forward, setting goals for obedience and sharing. It's simple, keeps the focus clear, reinforces core practices, and makes multiplication natural. It can literally work anywhere. Then there's Discovery Bible Study, DBS. This shifts away from an expert teaching towards a group discovering insights together directly from the text. They ask simple questions. What does this teach us? How will we obey it? Who will we share it with? This inherently norms immediate application and shared ownership of learning and acting. And third, they use peer-led accountability and tracking. As things grow, you need simple ways to stay connected and track progress, not complex bureaucracy. Simple check-ins, maybe basic charts tracking obedience and sharing. These tools serve the movement's health and mission. They don't control it. Decentralized but connected.
Okay, so the lesson here for, say, catalyst innovations isn't make every team identical. The DMM example shows it's not about rigid conformity. It's about unity and diversity, a shared culture of action, of living out the core values in ways that make sense in different contexts, where anyone on the team can say, yeah, this is how we operate, we learn, we apply it, we help others do the same. It's about principles, not just rigid procedures.
Absolutely. But, like any living thing, this norming culture needs tending. It's fragile. Our sources highlight several pitfalls. These aren't just operational hiccups, they're real dangers to the team's health and mission.
All right, let's unpack those. 4 big ones stand out. First, culture drift. This is when the core values just fade into the background. They become assumed, unspoken, forgotten. Like that line from Judges 2.0, another generation arose who did not know the Lord. The founding principles get lost. For Catalyst, maybe that early passion for radical transparency slowly becomes just standard corporate communication. The energy leaks out. Second pitfall, vision creep. This happens when you start chasing results, any results, and lose sight of the original why. Metrics replace mission. Busyness hides the drift. Think of 1 Samuel 8, Israel wanting a king like the other nations. They compromise their unique calling for perceived practicality. Catalysts might start taking on projects far outside their core mission just to hit revenue goals, diluting their identity. Third, overstructuring. Oh, this one's common. The processes, the frameworks, they become more important than the people or the purpose. Bureaucracy stifles the spirit. Jesus calling out the Pharisees in Mark 7.8 for prioritizing human traditions over God's commands. That's the dynamic. If Catalyst's internal rules slow down innovation or make them less responsive to clients, they've probably overstructured. And the fourth pitfall, leader dependence. When everything hinges on one person, the visionary, the founder, if they leave or burn out, the whole thing falters. Healthy norming builds shared ownership. Think Moses and Joshua, Jesus empowering his disciples. Leadership gets distributed. So the underlying principle in avoiding these pitfalls is clear. Structure must serve the spirit, serve the purpose. It needs to enable, not just control. Galatians 5.1 puts it starkly, it is for freedom that Christ has set us free. Do not submit again to a yoke of slavery. Your norms should create freedom and facilitate flourishing, not just enforce compliance. Reverence for the purpose, not rigidity in the process. And to keep that balance, the sources suggest a kind of leadership rule of life for guarding the culture. Revisit your core values quarterly. Prune your systems and processes, annually cut what's not working. Name drift openly when you see it. Actively decentralize ownership. And stay tuned in, spirit sensitive, daily.
That's a great summary. It's ongoing cultivation.
So, wrapping up this deep dive, the big idea seems to be that norming is where the rubber meets the road. It's where covenant turns into culture, where vision learns to walk and breathe in the real world through community. It's not just about getting through conflict, it's about building the foundation to truly thrive together.
Precisely. It's about how you actually move together day by day. And maybe a final thought for everyone listening to chew on. What are the unspoken norms currently operating in your team or community? Are there habits or assumptions that might be quietly holding you back, limiting your impact? How can you become more intentional about cultivating rhythms that truly reflect your deepest values, that empower everyone to co-own the mission? Because at the end of the day, the sources suggest the real miracle isn't just the initial spark, it's the aligned, consistent, relational rhythm that allows a powerful vision to actually become reality on the ground.
That's a fantastic place to leave it. Thank you for joining us on the deep dive for this look at norming for unity. We really hope these ideas give you practical ways to think about and shape the cultures in your own contexts.